Know your why. Like, what do I have to do to get there? You have to like surround yourself with the right people in order to get to where you're going.
So today's episode, we are brought to you by Submission Nutrition.
They are a nutritional food company that provides clean and nutrient-dense food products designed for combat athletes. Their overnight oatmeal helps athletes stay on course with a healthy eating regimen.
Wait, so is this all organic?
Exactly, 100% organic with hemp seed, flaxseed, and chia seeds. It's with superfoods in all of the flavors.
So it's not just oats.
Nope, they use goji, pineapple, cacao nibs, and it's an amazing source of protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and complex carbohydrates.
Is it like other oatmeals with a lot of sugar?
Nope, they use no added sugar.
I personally love overnight oatmeals because it's an easy way to have a healthy breakfast, especially when you're on the go.
Yeah, super convenient. And since it's oatmeal, it's really filling, and it's easy on the stomach so that you don't have to worry about an upset stomach during training.
Do they have different flavors?
They do. They got regular base oats, they got mountain muesli, mulberry goji walnut, pineapple coconut, and my personal favorite, chocolate almond and nibs. And I'm actually wearing a Submission Nutrition t-shirt right now as we record this advertisement.
Hold up. Not only do they sell overnight oatmeal, but they also sell some merch?
Yeah, yep. So head on down to submissionnutrition.com or find them on Instagram and go pick up a couple bags of overnight oats, get a hat, maybe a couple t-shirts. But before you check out, make sure you enter in promo code Sancha, that's SANCHA, before checkout to get an additional 20% off of your order.
We are also brought to you by No Flash Ink.
They are a tattoo parlor here in northern Colorado where they do 100% custom, all original tattoos. They've tattooed me. They've tattooed my entire family. I know you guys are going to love their work because I love their work. If you're familiar with the Greeley area, they are right off of 29th Street, but you can find their address on nfitattoo.com.
Or you could also find them on Instagram or on Facebook by typing in No Flash Ink.
Or shoot them an email to book your appointment right now at noflashinc@yahoo.com or just call them at 970-313-8064. Just don't forget to mention the Sancha and Sancho podcast for your discount.
Hey, amigos. So today's guest is a young business owner who's actually getting ready to be a mom. And she talks about the struggles she faced creating her own business. Another one of my good friends and another one of my inspirations, Crystal Garza. Well, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you guys. I'm actually really, really excited to be here.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, you were the first person I thought of as soon as like we started like doing like everything like the podcast and stuff like that. Like obviously it's like super exciting, but like literally you were the first one that came to my mind. Why? Because of everything you've accomplished so far.
Oh, well, thank you guys. Well, when you hit me up, I was like, oh my God, like I think I'm important now. Like, like it's official. Like what I've done is actually being noticed. So.
Yeah, no, that's huge.
For sure.
I mean, especially, we're young, you know, and I mean, you're younger than I am. She's a little bit younger than I am, but I mean, you're younger than the both of us. And, I mean, it's inspiring. I mean, you're owning your own business, and I feel like, especially people around our age, this isn't something that is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
why not?
Honestly, I think that, like, people our age, I feel like I don't want to say at this point, but I feel like as like a generation, we've all kind of have been afraid to fail. And I just feel like coming from like, you know, a parent that is an immigrant and just coming from like a family that is very resilient, it's been very hard for me to, you know, like go into things and be scared. Like I'm always scared. Like that's one thing that my family has taught me. Like, you know, do what you want. Just know that you're going to fail and that's okay. And I think that's just kind of like what people have to just understand that when you go into something, you're going to fail. And I think right now it's kind of hard for people to fail, especially in a time like this, in the pandemic.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
But I think that's important though. Like, I feel like already setting yourself apart by just saying like, hey, like it's okay if I fail, because then, from there you can just like move forward, you learn from it, and you're not really necessarily like letting yourself down because you already kind of prepared yourself for it in a way,
Exactly.
So, but tell us a little bit about that as far as like, like where your family comes from. You did just mention right now that your family is like immigrants.
yeah. So my mom's side of the family, most of them, and including my mom. So growing up, she was like the biggest influence for me, especially because that girl can work. And, a lot of the times people think like, oh, because you're an immigrant, like you can't work, you don't have your social security, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Whereas, when I came into this world, my mom always worked. She's been working for the same radio station for about 20, 25 years. So she's been there for a while. And I know growing up that she would always tell me like, you have to wait, hold on, let me back up. So as a Hispanic woman, I do feel like I don't have certain privileges that other people have. So she's always taught me like, you have to be better because you want to stand out so people don't, just view you as like this Hispanic girl. You have to do better than a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so growing up, I would always see how she would like persevere. She was just always like on her feet. She always like would stand out from the crowd, even though she came from like an immigrant family, even though she was an immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, every time I would go to school, like, it was hard because if she ever got pulled over, which it only happened one time, I was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to get deported. But it wasn't like that. That's just how people portrayed it to be. So growing up, I always thought, if this woman can work, if this woman can live in fear, like, I have no excuse to do nothing. Like, I have no excuse to be like, oh, I can't do this. Like, I don't have these privileges. Like, I do, thankfully. So it's, she was my biggest influence, and I give her all of the credit for, who I am today. So
Yeah.
shout out to my mom.
Hey, I love that though. Seriously.
Did you grow up here in Greeley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Born and raised, Greeley native. And yeah, she met my dad here about 30 years ago. So I don't know anything outside of Greeley. I have traveled, but I mean, I've just been a Greeley girl
Mm-hmm.
my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, well, so let's dial it back. So tell me, like, about your childhood. Like, you said you grew up here in Greeley. I mean, I'm assuming you went to, the typical schools that are here in
Yeah.
this small town. But, I mean, you said she worked at the radio station. Were you ever around that at all?
I actually was. She calls them remotes, but I guess now what we would call them is like not a convention, but she would take me to these different like places that she would advertise for, I guess. And I would just stick around and I would watch her just basically be a sponsor there. She would just go live on the radio and just kind of, introduce the company. That was her job. She doesn't really speak on the radio. She just sells the commercials that you hear on the radio.
Nice.
So in my childhood, it was just my brother and myself. My parents were divorced when I was 7 is when they got a divorce. So I also grew up with a single mother.
It's pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my brother, he grew up, I mean, thankfully they have a really good relationship, but he never saw like that father figure, So, I mean, thankfully during my childhood, my mom was able to give me everything. So I don't want to say that I like struggled in that sense, but I mean, I was basically like the only girl. I had to set a good example for my brother all the time. She was very strict too. Like, she was hella strict. Like, I was not able to go out. I even tell her to this day, like, dude, I have anxiety issues and like social issues because you never let me do anything. But she's
I'm like, I think that's just a Mexican thing.
probably, dude. I'm like, they get you all anxious or they
Right.
freaking raise you that way. But yeah, I was around the radio station quite a bit. I saw, what she did for a living. when I would tell people like, "Oh, I can't go to your house because I have a remote to go to." Nobody knew what that was. It was
Mhm.
like I said, it was just going to these different events where she would basically promote these businesses.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time around different people, I guess.
So pretty much you would always like see her hustling.
Yeah, always hustling, dude.
Yeah.
Seriously. That's yeah. I would always see her hustling. Every other weekend I would, you know, go to my dad's and spend the weekend with him. And it was very different with him because obviously he was also a single dad, but I only saw him like 3 times, 4 times a month. So I always saw like the good side of him because he would always take us out. He would take us to the movies. Whereas when it got back to my mom's house, that's when it's like the punishing would happen. Not like in a bad way, but like
They're
I
like, "Oh,
feared,
snap."
yeah, I feared her more than anything because I was with her all the time and because she wanted the best for us. So, um, yeah, it was just,
Yeah.
Are
of
you the
course.
older child?
yeah, it's just my brother and I.
Okay.
And so then, okay. So you saw your mom like hustling, started going to school. Now it's high school, and you got to figure out life.
Yes.
Now what?
Well, honestly, like during high school, I would always tell people like different things. Like one year I wanted to be in criminal justice. One year I wanted to be a gynecologist. And throughout all of this, including my childhood, which I guess I left out, is I actually always did do hair. Like I never ever let my mom touch my hair. If you look at pictures of me when I was 3, like my chongos are just like messed up because I always did my own hair. Um, but in high school, I never really knew what my niche was. Like I always thought hair was just a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And then my senior year came creeping up and you kind of have to figure it out by then. And it's just like, dude, I'm only freaking 17 years old. Like, how am I supposed to know what I want to do for the rest of my life? I think that's something that we all it's like the biggest pressure we have as
Yeah.
high schoolers. And my mom was like, why don't you do cosmetology? Like, you like to do hair. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I never thought of that because I just do hair for fun. Like, it never was business for me. It was
Yeah.
just something that I like to do as a hobby. And so I did go, I did my research on certain schools, and cosmetology actually is almost as expensive as going to like a university. It's
Really?
pretty expensive. But I thought, it's not that expensive. Like it's not as much as going to a university. So this could be something that I can pay on my own because my mom wasn't going to be like, oh, I'll take care of your tuition. Like there's a lot of people who have that privilege. There's a lot of people who are blessed to, have their parents pay for that. But that wasn't my case. Like, granted, she's helped me a lot, but not like, oh, I'm just going to like pay for you to go to school. So I ended up finding IBMC, and that was honestly the school that I was like, all right, this is where I'm going to go. I'm going to start, 3 months after high school, and that was the start.
I mean, that's awesome. I feel like you're one of the lucky ones. You figured it out pretty early.
Yeah, seriously.
I know. Me puse las pilas.
No, that's good, I feel like you're right, with all that pressure, like being in high school and then, you're just like living life day to day, your sports, keeping up with your grades and all this and that. But then it's like your senior year and it's like, hey, what college you're going to go to? Or like, you see other adults and they automatically just assume you're going to go to college.
Exactly.
You're still a child. How are you supposed to know you don't even know what you like, like you don't know anything. You haven't learned any skills. You haven't really worked any jobs really. Like in high school, I had two jobs maybe, but they weren't serious. Like it was all just like fast food. It's like, what are you going to do? Like, it's not like.
Exactly. I agree. And I feel like with the school systems and just in general, as a society, as a generation, like I feel like we're always having to make, not like our parents proud, but I feel like we're always supposed to do something to be relevant or to be like important. And my thing then was like I said, my mom didn't just go through all that for me to do nothing. And I just wanted to start right away. Like that was something that I was used to. I mean, I had my first job when I was 15. I was just always on that mindset. Like I just wanted to go. And not everybody, has that, and that's okay. Like you don't have to figure it out right away. Like that's not what I'm saying, but I just had a different role model in my life, I guess, that, encouraged me to do things,
Mhm.
right away. And sometimes I tell her, like, you were kind of hard on me, but not like in a bad way. Like, I am the way I am because I had you to look up to. And like I said, not everyone has that, and that's
Mhm.
okay.
Right.
So you start cosmetology school. I mean, were you looking at the long term, or was it kind of like were you already? Did you know that you wanted to work for yourself, or like did that come later down the line? Like,
That came later down the line. I knew that I wanted to do something that was fun, that didn't feel like I had to work. Um, I honestly wasn't thinking long term, if to be honest with you. I just, like I said, I wanted to do something that was fun, um, and just something that I can do and stand out in. Something
Mhm.
that something that I was talented at, and I knew that my talent was doing hair. So I felt like, oh, if I do this, it'll be easy.
Mhm.
I'll pay for something and not regret it. And if I stop doing it, it's like I'll always have I'll always have my license. I'll always do it. So I guess technically I was thinking of, oh, if I stop doing hair, at least I'll still have my license. That was the
Mm.
mindset I was on
Mhm.
back then.
That's good. I feel like if anything, it's always good to kind of have like a backup, to kind of lean on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's really good. So then, okay. So like you started going to school,
Mhm.
cosmetology. How was that like? Was it hard?
Honestly, I would say probably my first semester was pretty hard because it was all like theory.
Mm-hmm.
I was learning like the history of hair. I was learning hair and nails, hair, skin, and nails. I was doing like all of the biology behind it, like all the science behind hair. That was not that fun. And I remember when I signed up, I was like, oh, like I said, it was going to be easy. And then when I'm in class and they tell you, like, you have to pass with the C or else you fail.
Mm.
So everything had to be above, I believe there it was like a 74%, I want to say. Um, so, I mean, it's crazy, but when I was in cosmetology school, I feel like I took that more serious than I did in high school. Obviously, because I was paying for it.
Mm.
Um,
Do you think that changes things?
yes.
Yes.
The fact that you're paying for it? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. No, seriously. Like, if I failed that class, I would still have to pay for it and take
Mm-hmm.
it again. And then that's more of my time and more of my money, which
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those are the two things people value the most. I
Mm.
mean, probably I'm speaking for myself. But like
No, it's pretty general.
like yeah, so I was really good at, passing, or like I had good test taking skills, I guess.
That's good.
So cosmetology school was a challenge, but I learned a lot about myself, and I learned that, maybe if I would have put this much effort into school, like I probably would have gotten better grades. I probably would have been accepted to other colleges, even though like I probably would have never done that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time I also knew like I probably wasn't going to get accepted into any of the colleges that I wanted to go to.
Mm.
So why would I do that, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that I went through too. Like getting out of high school and start working like normal jobs or whatever you want to call it. Like I feel like that was one of my first things that I was thinking of. Was just like, frick, man, I feel like I should have tried a little bit harder in high school, and
Yes,
maybe I
yeah.
wouldn't be working these jobs, or maybe my path would have been a little bit different. Or I just feel like I took it for granted. 'Cause I feel like I didn't really try that hard in high school,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of disappointing now. Like to think back on it, and it's like I don't like why. I don't even. I'm not really sure what the deal was. It's a lot different now. I mean, when you work, you have to work because you have bills and like all these other things
Exactly.
that come into play. So it's definitely a different
Yeah,
motive, but
exactly. I don't know. I think people just have to, like, we live and we learn and we can't take anything back. But I've learned that once you dive into something, like, you can make changes then, like now you can try harder. Like, you couldn't really do anything in high school, but like now you can try harder and now you can do better.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I always wonder like why we didn't try. Like, were we not, like, were our teachers not as inspiring as like, as we wanted them to be? Did we not
Right.
have the proper resources? Like, why didn't we try?
Yeah,
Because I'm
that's true.
not gonna lie, like I never wanted to do anything. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in school, same thing. I'm like, dude,
it's like
like
I don't want to be here.
yeah,
It's like, what
yeah,
am I doing?
exactly. So
Yeah, I mean,
So
I think everybody goes through that though. It's kind of a
sure,
weird, but
for
you do
sure.
it because you have to. It's
Yeah.
not like you want to do it, or it's not like you want to be there. I mean, it's
Right.
different if you have like friends or somebody that you like are hanging out with. But even then, like, I mean, I did the same thing. I mean, I ditched a little bit, and I mean it seemed a lot more fun to just,
Mhm.
and maybe fun's the wrong word to use, but it just seemed more entertaining, or
I mean,
I
if
just feel like
anything, you're just distracted, you
Yeah.
know,
yeah. Okay.
distracted with
With
friends,
friends. And
bad
I think that
influences.
I know, right? I think that continues though. And I think as you're in the game of whatever you're doing, like you learn that you have to weed those like bad influences out.
Mm.
Those you have to like surround yourself with the right people in order to get to where you're going. And that's probably the problem with school is you are who you hang out with. And
Mhm.
I believe that in like everyday
Mm-hmm.
experiences. It's
So
like,
did any of your friends go to cosmetology school?
no, but a lot of my friends do come from cosmetology school. So, like, I met a lot of new people in cosmetology school.
Okay, yeah.
I would say at this point they're probably acquaintances, but
Okay, then I guess in other words, did any of your high school friends go to cosmetology school?
no, none. So,
Is that weird?
yeah.
Like, I feel like I had this weird revelation of like once I graduated high school, I feel like all of my friends kind of just like
Mhm.
dispersed. Like
Mhm.
I don't really talk to any of my high school friends anymore. Like I don't even, it's not like that I don't want to talk to them. I just
Right.
think like it's crazy like you graduate and everybody's paths just get so different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's really mind-blowing. And I feel like especially cuz everybody's really shooting for the same goal. You know, we're all looking for the cheese, but
exactly.
like how do we all get so lost? You know what I mean? I mean,
I don't know. Like, I think we all just have different interests, whereas in school, like you have to be there with those people. You know, you build good relationships with them, and I think it's a beautiful thing when people are still friends with their high school people. But if you look at those same people, like what are they doing?
mhm.
Are they successful? Are they all doing the same thing that they were doing in high school but a
Mhm.
different age, more money maybe?
Right.
Um Honestly, I think what happens is you just lose interest in hanging out with those people because you guys are both on like a different level of
Mm-hmm.
life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. Okay, so then you're fresh out of cosmetology school. Then what
And
happens?
but then you're like paying for your own school, right?
So I didn't have to pay for it until 6 months after. So
Okay.
while I
Oh.
was in school, I was actually working at T-Mobile
Mhm.
with my girl. That was my, I guess, side hustle. No. That was like my main source of income. But I used that money. I saved that
Mhm.
money to pay for school. You know, because I had to quit T-Mobile at some point to start
Mm.
working somewhere,
Yeah.
which that somewhere was my first salon where I wasn't getting paid as much as 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where I wasn't getting paid as much as T-Mobile. That
Oh,
was the salon
gotcha.
I used to work for, sorry. um, but I mean, the hardest part about being in school was having to work and go to school.
Mm.
Mhm.
At the time, I did actually get my first DUI, my only DUI actually. And I had just started beauty school actually. It was probably like 3 months in, and I got into a car accident, and I obviously was the driver, and um I lost my license. I couldn't drive. I was 19 years old. So I had to go to school. I had to do therapy classes or like these classes that they give you when you get
Mm.
DUIs, which are very, very necessary. Time consuming, but they're necessary. And I also had to work. Where at as this job that I was at, they weren't as flexible as you think they would be, even though I was still part time. So
Mm.
I had to manage going to school, doing these DUI classes, paying for
Mm.
them. So it's like even though I wasn't paying for school, I still had to pay for my mistake.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I was working part-time at T-Mobile. So
Mhm.
that was honestly 2015 to 2016 was probably one of the hardest years that I ever had to go through because of something that I obviously did.
Mm.
But now I'm like, I'm so thankful it happened because like now I don't obviously drink and drive, but now I know that if I could get through that part of my life, then I can do anything.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah, that's a lot, especially at 19. Like
I know.
fresh
And
out of, I mean, you're still really young. You're still a kid, and you're still having to
Mhm.
deal with like those are some adult things right there
Yeah.
oh,
for
for
sure.
sure. And I remember too, I would tell my mom like can you come pick me up? Like,
Mm.
and that's all she could do. She couldn't like help me. She couldn't like be there to pay for anything. Like I had to do the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so like now when I'm working and, you know, I'm here doing everything that I can to live this like lavish life that I want to live. And there's people that complain about not having this or not being able to do that. They don't have time. I'm like, dude, you have time. Like we have
Mhm.
24 hours a day. Like you have time.
Yeah, that's true.
Hopefully you don't mind me asking, but I mean, what kind of stuff do they talk about in therapy? Like, is that stuff that you could take and use it in other parts of your life, or like?
Yeah. They talked a lot about having a plan, not like a long-term plan, that's one thing that I did get out of there is in school they always tell you to have like a short-term goal and a long-term goal, which the long-term goal is always like, I don't know, 7 years and the short-term goal is always 1 year. And I remember in class they would talk about how like they assume like you're an alcoholic even though like I obviously wasn't. I just got in trouble and made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But they talk about how if you want to make a change, don't start with long-term goals because then you're just going to end up being disappointed because in 7 years, if you write out your plan, like shit's going to happen. Like
Mhm.
nothing is perfect, Um so they said, make short-term goals and then once you've achieved that short-term goal, do something else. Make another short-term goal.
Mm.
And then eventually, if you were to map out those short-term goals and then put them together like on a timeline, it's almost like you just achieved your long-term goal without even knowing that that was your long-term
Mm.
goal,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
That's like a little bit of a snowball effect kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
and-
exactly. And now with my business, I always say, okay, I'm going to start here. I'm going to accomplish this first. Like I'm going to work to get, I don't know, more shampoo like product that I can offer. And then
Mm.
once I do that, I can offer this. And then once I do that, just keep going. And then
Right.
eventually it's like I have this whole color line in my salon. And now it's like, okay, I have enough sales to get me to like a bigger spot. That's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
And so right now I'm just taking everything in the mindset of, okay, let's achieve this short-term goal instead of disappointing myself. Because
Okay.
as you guys know, I'm pregnant and this obviously, I mean, it was part of the plan, but it came kind of soon. And when I first found out, I was like, dude, did I like mess up? Like, should I have not signed this? Like,
Mm.
but I learned, it's not like I wrote out this long-term goal that I was going to achieve all of this without a kid,
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had to play around.
Yeah.
And I feel like as long as you're making those short-term goals and checking them off, like eventually you'll get to bigger goals without
Mhm.
even like disappointing yourself or feeling like they're bigger goals.
Right. Right.
I heard you said it after you graduated cosmetology school, you started working at a hair salon called 10 or something.
Mhm.
And you said you were making less than what you were making at T-Mobile. Was that kind of weird? Like now you graduated, you've developed this skill and you're ready to work.
It was. It was hard because I knew like, oh my God, I'm giving up this income to work here. But the thing that got me through it was that I was passionate about it.
Mm.
Like and that's the one thing that's my one piece of advice is when you are passionate about something, you won't care how much you make. It's not going to feel like you're working.
Mm.
And I learned that quickly that if you want to learn, if you're serious about this business, you need a mentor and you have to be willing to work for free sometimes.
Mhm.
I didn't work for free there, but I did do side hustles where I was just an assistant. Like I was an assistant for a whole year. And
Jeez.
yeah. And that's the thing too, is that a lot of people aren't willing to put in that time and they're not willing to sacrifice that pay because I think the mindset everyone has sometimes when they start is, I need to make money right away. That's why I got
Mhm.
my bachelor's degree. That's why I have this, I don't know, that's why I have this degree is because I'm going to make all this money. Whereas I learned that you have to learn to put in that time.
Mhm.
And so 10 Salon and Spa taught me that, it's like we all start from the bottom, including you.
Yeah.
No, everything that you mentioned is amazing. My dad, he went to college and he's got his bachelor's degree in like
Mhm.
global environmental sustainability or something crazy like that,
Yeah.
but he's not even using his degree. Like he couldn't find anything that was going to pay him basically like what he was looking for.
Up to yeah.
So yeah, like he drives a truck, which I mean, I'm not talking crap about my dad, but I mean,
Yeah.
like he's
yeah.
driving a truck and he's making a lot more money than what he would have made for a long time if he would have found something in his degree. So it almost just didn't seem like it was worth it to him.
I started at the perfect time because I didn't have kids. I didn't have a mortgage payment. I didn't have all of these, liabilities that I had to pay for. And that's when the hustle comes in. Like you either, if you want it that bad, you're going to put in that time and be an assistant, or you're going to put in that time to just, have a mentor teach you the ins and outs of it. And then you're also going to have a side hustle if that's what it has to be. And a lot of people don't have that ambition. And I'm not saying like that's a bad thing, but to some people, they don't have time to do that. They have kids, like I have bills. I can't just do half and half, So,
Right.
I mean, it is tough, but you just got to hustle.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's also the other side of the spectrum too, where I feel like a lot of people just get comfortable, or I don't want to say that they give up, but I feel like, and I don't want to say that there's no hope, but I feel like people just don't have maybe the big enough dream or the big enough want to
Or maybe
to
the
push
why.
themselves. Yeah, like I feel like I see that a lot. Like you see people, and I'm not dissing on McDonald's, but you see people that work at McDonald's forever, like 20 years, and it's just like, imagine if you would have put that much time and effort into something else, like you could have gotten so much more out of it. And I think it's just weird to see a lot of people get stuck in like that comfort zone of just the 9 to 5, like every day I go to work, I come home and whatever, and then I wake up and I go to work and I come home, and they get stuck in like that trap.
So, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
I was going to say, I just think people are afraid of change, honestly. That's kind of where it starts, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So do you think is there like any inspirations or books that you read or anything like that that kind of like got you into that that like mindset as far as like just keep going and
I did read one book. It was called, I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called You Are a Badass. You're a Badass.
I think I've heard of it actually.
I don't
I haven't
remember
read
who the
it.
author is. I just know I read it. But it kind of talks about how you don't really know. Hold on, let me back up. How does it go? You don't know what you can achieve. You don't know what you can achieve if you've never tested out your fullest potential. And at the time I was still working, I was still an assistant, and it just talks about how you have to surround yourself around the people that you want to be. Um it also talks about like energies, like if you're around like 4 negative people, or if those are your 4 negative friends, like they're going to drag you with you, if you hang around 4 bosses, they're going to rub off on you. You're going to want to be a boss too. So it just talks about how you're a badass and you should surround yourself by other badasses. You should do, I don't know, badass not assignments, but just give yourself badass assignments and check them off of your list. I'm like, wait, I'm losing my words. But yeah, I feel like that's a book everyone should read. It doesn't just talk about like being a business owner or like, being around positive people. It just talks a lot about how, you don't really know your fullest potential until you try it, until you go out there and make a change. Because there are things that you can do to change your lifestyles without it actually affecting like your income or like your family household or just your day-to-day, routine. It just kind of just talks about how we don't test our limits, I guess.
Yeah.
And then my fiance, he read a book, which I never read it, but he talked a lot about it with me. And it's
You're like,
called,
so technically I read it.
So technically I did. I know exactly what it's about. He just did all the dirty work. But it's called Poor Dad, Rich Dad.
Oh yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep.
Did you guys read it?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that book.
Okay. So you guys know it talks about like assets and liabilities. It gets into business. And he started reading that when I actually started my business. And it kind of inspired me. Like he said, like one of the things that I took from it was have your assets pay your liabilities and then go from there. You can live a good life as long as you follow like these easy steps. And I remember one of them was it was about not like having huge debts on like cars, clothes, these designer bags, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Instead, have your assets pay for that. Like,
Right.
build a business and have your business that steady income, have that pay for what you want in the life that you want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, dude, like, that's going to be me one day. I'm going to have such a steady income. And I put that into the universe. Like, I do believe in the law of attraction. And I
Okay.
told myself one day I am going to have my assets pay for my liabilities. So, him reading that was almost like it was meant for me to hear.
Mm.
Because at the beginning, I was kind of like, I just want to do my, get this business going so that I can work for myself, so I can make more money. I can have my own schedule. Whereas when he started educating me on that book, I kind of saw it a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was it exactly that sparked that for you? Like, how did you went from graduating to working for this place to finding a mentorship, pushing through that year, not really making a lot of money. You're like, well, that's fine. Like, this is what I love to do. What is it initially? Like, was it one thing? Was it a person? Was it something that you read? Was it something that somebody told you? Like, what was it in your mind that you can think of that was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to open up my own salon no matter what it takes. This is my path. Like, what was that?
Well, I feel like it kind of built up to like where I'm at now, but I was a fucking badass at the salon I was at. I like after that year of assisting, I like popped off. Like I did great hair. I had loyal ass clients, and I did have a conversation with one client who she was kind of asking me about not my income, but just on how I was getting paid there. And I was telling her, I mean, I wasn't giving her exact numbers, but she said, you're doing most of the work. Like you are 80% of the work, and 20% of what I pay is okay, let me back up. So 100% of what she was paying, I was only getting like a portion of that, like 46% to be exact.
Oh, geez.
But I was doing 80% of the work is what I meant to say.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 20%, I felt like, okay, well, this salon is only providing me a chair and some product. And my client, she's actually an accountant, and she told me, you can do this yourself. Like she's like, I can help you because she's an accountant.
Mm.
And she said, if you do the numbers, she's like, I want you to go home and do the numbers, and you tell me if what you're doing here is worth you staying. She's like, you're talented, you're amazing. I see how loyal you are to your clients. You're very consistent when I come in. And I think that if you can keep that energy like outside of here, then you can do great. You can do better things, but on your own, you know? And so I guess having that conversation with her, every client after that, it's like they would ask me like, do you like working here? Like, and I loved working there. I have nothing bad to say about that place, but I think that they like almost every commission paid business that you work for, they put into your head that you're nothing without them.
Mm.
Like, oh, we provide 50% of the service, you're just a sales rep. But really, it's like people are buying because they like you.
Right.
You can have the shittiest product, you can have the freaking best product, but if you're not a good sales rep, if you're not a good person, if you don't provide a good service, people aren't going to come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever been to a restaurant and they had bomb ass food, but the server or the waitress was like shit? And so you're like, I'm never coming back. Or vice versa. You might have had the shittiest food, but they gave you the best service, so you're going to come back.
Right.
So I think that conversation like put a spark in my head, and I was like, I'm going to start looking. And luckily it was weird, but I had another business owner in Greeley who hit me up maybe like a week or two after I had that conversation, and she asked if I wanted to work for her. But she asked me if I wanted to booth rent, meaning that obviously I would just rent off of her. And I went and checked it out. And after that, that's when I was really like, okay, no, like I could do this by myself. I have all of, the knowledge that I have, or all of the knowledge that I need to start this business. You don't need a lot to start a business if you're passionate about it.
So timing was everything there. I mean, she
Yeah.
planted the seed, and it was just the perfect time for you.
Exactly. Exactly. And at the time, I was like, I have to think about it. I'm very invested in the education program at 10 because I was one of the educators there. And I never thought I'd actually leave, but like you said, she planted that seed.
Mm-hmm.
I started to explore different salons, and before you know it, it's like, all right, I have to actually do this in order to actually, I guess succeed, or in order for me to feel like I'm starting the beginning of my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
How long had you been there
At the old salon or my new,
at that place? How long
At the
had
old
you
salon?
been there?
I had been there for almost 4 years.
Oh,
Okay.
geez. Okay.
Yeah. So I have felt like, you know what? I have loyal clients. She's right. I'm
Mhm.
talented, thankfully.
Mhm.
I love what I do. I come to work every day and I love it. Like there was not one day that I would say that I didn't want to be there.
Mhm.
And even at my new spot, I tell my clients, like, if I don't want to be here, then I'm going to let you know, because I don't want to do your hair and not want to do your hair, because that
Mhm.
doesn't sound right. Like, you don't want somebody doing your hair that doesn't want to do your hair.
Right. I'll be a little bit scared, honestly.
I know, right? Right. But it's just, it's crazy, because I'm like, you're right. Like, I love what I do. Like, how could I fail? And if I do, always have that backup plan, you know? Um, but I was there for a while, and I never thought I'd actually leave, because they gave me everything that I needed, except she was right. Like, I was doing most of the work, and they were
Mhm.
taking away half
Yeah.
of what I was doing.
Yeah. So, in that moment, I guess, like, what's like a piece of advice that you can give to somebody who might be in the same situation that's like that they just feel stuck, that they feel like they're, I don't know, I guess like that they don't know where to kind of head within their career.
I would say, one, believe in yourself, know who you are, um, and just reach out to people. Like, sometimes you need to hear it from another person in order to move forward, to make that extra step, because I had to hear it from another person in order for me to take that extra step. So my advice would be, like, just reach out to people, even if you don't know them. Like, there's a lot of successful people that want to help other successful people. And I would say that is definitely what sets me apart than other stylists, is I'm willing to help other stylists succeed. Like, I want to be part of your success, so let me know what I could do to help you.
That's awesome.
And I think a lot of people just, I don't want to say it's pride, but I think people are scared to reach out for help.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's all you need to make that extra step, is just help. You need somebody to tell you, like, hey, I know all of these resources for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you should go. Or maybe you just need somebody to believe in you.
Right. Right. So when you started looking into your own business, how did that process kind of go for you?
Well, at first I thought it was going to be easy. Um,
Right? Because it's like, okay, yeah, just open up my own shop
Yeah.
and
well, yeah,
open up
exactly.
business,
It's easy. Yeah, all I need is just $1,000 and I'm good. No. But it was kind of hard. It was stressful. And I remember telling my mom, like, hey, I'm pregnant now and I don't know if I made the right decision. Like, this is too stressful. And they always tell you not to stress out when you're pregnant.
So really quick with that. So in that transition of you leaving 10 Salon, is that what it's called,
Uh-huh.
right? 10 Salon, and you looking into, you opening up your own business. So you found out that you got pregnant at that time, or when did
Yeah.
you?
So this is how it goes. I couldn't leave 10 until I officially opened up my business.
Okay.
Um, in the middle of that, like maybe like the last week of me being there, I found out I was pregnant.
Gotcha.
And in that week as well, I had to, I don't want to say it was a week, because now that I'm thinking about it, it took longer to get my business license. I would say 2 weeks.
Mhm.
I had to get like my tax ID, I had to get my business license, a business sales tax license.
And really quick with that, like I feel like a lot of people get stuck when opening up your own business or creating the idea. I guess where did you educate yourself?
Where did I educate myself? Like,
You're like Google.
That's no Google. And then my business partner. I have another gal in there that works with me, and we
Okay.
basically, she has her own LLC and I have my own,
Okay.
but we both rent the same building.
So did you guys talk to each other before going into business together, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We both, that was another thing, is talking to her, she's had her own business since beauty school.
Oh, okay.
She kind of helped me out with the ins and outs. So I guess she was one of the ones that kind of guided me through, the business, um, the
Venture.
the business venture. Yeah,
Yeah.
she kind of gave me like the whole business literature, I guess. But I would say honestly, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a business degree. I mean, I do want to go to school for business and accounting now so that I obviously can better my business so I can see what I haven't tested my fullest potential. That's why I want to go get that degree. And something I will say is you don't have to know everything and you don't have to have that degree to start
Mm.
your business. I kind of just went in and I learned and made mistakes. And as I did that, that's how I kind of managed to get through the beginning or the start of my business.
Nice. Okay.
No, that's huge. I mean, everybody needs help. It's
Yeah.
hard to do things by yourself. And even if you are doing things by yourself, like you said earlier, like it is okay to fail. Like I don't know,
Mhm.
it sucks that a lot of people are afraid to fail. Maybe it's just because we're in a really small town, so it feels
Right.
like really judgy or something. Like I don't know if the vibes are really weird here,
I agree.
but that's okay. Like
It's okay.
like
I mean, that's so true though, because I feel like the second you go out, really, let's say you go to California, you feel like a whole different person. You feel like you can
Yeah.
do anything.
You
You
can
know?
wear whatever you want, do whatever
Exactly.
you want, because the vibe is different. I
Mhm.
agree. And like I said, when you're surrounded by closed-minded people or negative people, they're going to rub off on you. And maybe because we're all in Greeley, maybe Greeley is a negative vibe. Maybe Greeley isn't the place to start a business. But I was like, you know what? Screw that. Like, I'm going to fail, if I'm going to fail, then I'm going to fail. Like, I have a backup plan,
Mhm.
So my biggest thing is don't be afraid to fail. It's okay. And it's
Mhm.
okay to reach out for help. Like, you don't need to have pride. Like, you don't have to feel like, oh, just because I don't have a business degree, like I shouldn't be asking these questions. Like people, like I said, people are happy to help, especially successful people. Like they want to help you.
Mm. That's awesome.
so you're 2 weeks away from leaving this place, and you're like, I'm pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's like the best feelings in the world, and it's also like the holy shit, what did I just do? Should I have left this place? Like, so I mean, obviously you really hunkered down and you made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, did you run into anything else, or was that kind of like was that one of your biggest struggles starting the business, or?
Yes, that was probably my biggest one. But then once I found out about that, I thought about too how I'm not going to have benefits going into my own business.
Mm.
So I had to give up these amazing benefits that I had at 10 in order to start my own business.
Mm.
I also had to think, oh my God, like I'm pregnant, like I need insurance
Yeah.
for the baby and myself.
Mhm.
So it's like that's another thing. Like I had to learn as I went. Like after I signed it, I was like, oh my God, like how come I never thought about benefits? How come I never thought about insurance?
Mhm.
You have to pay for insurance there too. And that was something that 10 always took care of. Like they literally did everything for me. All I had to do was show up and do hair.
Mm.
That's basically all I had to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk about taking risk, right?
Exactly. And I just told myself, you know what? Like, this is what's going to make me happy. Like, I have to just do what's going to make me happy. My mom didn't raise no bitch. like, you just got to go into it. And that was probably my biggest challenge was I had to make those sacrifices. Like, I don't have benefits. I don't have PTO. I don't have sick pay.
Mhm.
And on top of that, like, now I take more time off to go to like baby visits and stuff, which
Mhm.
is okay because now I can make my own schedule.
Yeah, exactly. That must be like really nice. I feel like if anything that's like something that you can't really do when you're working for somebody else,
Exactly.
Got to
To
ask for
that.
permission or whatever and they might say no so it's like I think owning a business it's
And then you got to worry about losing your job. It's like, oh, can I take
know.
time off? Like, is
Right.
it okay for me? Like,
Yeah.
I know we're busy, but hey, like, I need some time. Like, that's always a weird thing too.
Exactly. And then when you work around other people too, you like obviously they're gonna feel some type of way about you leaving or about you taking that time off.
Mhm.
So I just knew, you know what, like if I do this, nobody's gonna care about what I'm doing. Cause it's crazy, but I worked with I want to say 60 to 70 other women. And it's like
Whoa.
It's inevitable.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
they're
lot.
gonna wonder why you're taking time off. And so something that pushed me was knowing that I was gonna be able to manage my own time without
Mhm.
anyone telling me what to do. So
Yeah.
honestly, at that point, I was like, I don't care if I don't get benefits. Like I'll figure that out later. You
Mhm.
know, I'm pregnant right now. It's okay. I'll figure that out later. And as
Mhm.
I've been in the business, like I just learned something every day. Like I learn, how I can be better, how I can do better. What can I do to improve my business?
Mhm.
So it's just every day is a learning lesson.
Right, right. So when you started this whole venture, how did it go for you? I mean, like, I'm sure it's exciting, right?
Mhm.
Now having to like go around shopping for places to put your shop and stuff like that. Where did you end up putting up shop?
So it's over at St. Michael's.
Okay.
It's a suite and it's at a Sola salon.
Okay.
So there's other stylists there, but we all have like our own LLC because we're all responsible for our own business. And what I liked about that spot was it was just a good starting point. Like I didn't have to pay for, I don't know, like maintenance work. Like all of that is taken care of through my rent. And so
Nice.
that's the thing is right now, my short-term goal is to get the ins and outs of the business, um, get as much capital, I guess, to start off a bigger business if I decide that that's what I want to do in the future. But right now, I just wanted to see if I was able to run my own business. And I
Mhm.
felt like Sola's provided everything that I needed without me feeling like, holy shit, I made a mistake. Like now I have to clean the bathrooms. Now I have to do this. I have to
Mhm.
pay for the light, the electricity.
Mhm.
So that is why I honestly chose Sola Salon is because it was pretty easy to start out there. I just had to provide all of my equipment and just show up and be a business owner.
Nice.
That's huge.
Cool.
My mom's a hairdresser.
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
So growing up, she was always doing that. And I feel like what's kind of funny is she was at Sola for a while.
I think I have her room.
Yeah. Are you in that corner?
Yeah, the one with the windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
That's funny. That's literally where she was.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. See,
And she
and
liked it there. I mean, she was there for a long time.
oh,
And
really?
I think it was the same kind of deal coming from a different place that she was at. Like, it seemed like it made it a lot easier for her just not to have to worry about all like the extra crap that comes with owning your own business. Like,
Exactly.
it was
But
almost like a good little break.
exactly. But she still owned her own business.
Mhm.
Is she like? What is she doing now?
She went to massage school
Okay.
and she got a bunch of different partners and they have another salon.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
So
But
I.
she's always doing the same thing. She's like always trying to learn more and add more to her belt or whatever and her tools to, I mean, obviously grow her business. So, but I mean, that industry is like so huge. Like, it's never going to go away.
Mhm.
Like, even with the pandemic going on, like, I'm sure that hit you guys pretty hard. But I mean, everybody needs to go there. Like,
ex-
it's not,
I agree. I feel like during the pandemic, we all learned how essential we are.
yeah.
um. But yeah, I mean, this industry is endless, like you said. There's always something more. And you can be the stylist that is stagnant and just stay where you are, which is great.
Mhm.
But you can also choose to invest in your career and you can do more, you could charge more. Not that that's the reason why I do this, but it's like there are so many possibilities in this industry.
Mhm.
You can work for a personal, I don't know, a celebrity if you want. If that's the goal you're going for.
Mhm.
But like you said, like it's endless. You
Mhm.
can do whatever you want with it. You can
Yeah.
stop working, you'll still have your license. Um, you can keep working and you can get better. You'll get more loyal clients.
Does it ever expire?
It does, but you don't have to go to school like all over again if it does expire. I
Oh.
mean, if you haven't practiced for like 10 years, I think you do have to go back to school. But if you wanted to take a break, like let's say you wanted to take 2 years off, I think you just have to go reinstate it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you'll always have that license in your back belt, I guess.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you talk about goals a lot. Can you name off some of your short-term goals?
Yeah. So my short-term goal is, and this is just like super like minor, but I do want to start offering like beverages, like alcoholic beverages at my salon.
Count me in.
And I
Come
want
on, where are you at? No.
or like 6560. Oh yeah, so I give you the address.
Hey, there we go.
I just want to start adding more rituals to the salon, so that way I like to call it like a value added service. I want more value added services to my salon, but obviously at the moment, like I have to invest more and I have to gain more of that money back. I need more profit, I guess, in order for me to provide that service for my clients. And they all know that. They all know that I'm working towards that. And I think that once I achieve that, then I can start like maybe get a bigger salon and then hire another stylist with me.
Nice.
But I would say for now, my short-term goal is to have to offer more of a value-added service to my clients.
That's awesome.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to make more money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's definitely a
Exactly.
long-term goal.
Yeah.
So then what is your long-term goal? Is that getting a bigger place by yourself and kind of just going from there and just running it?
Well, I would say my long-term goal is to do that, like to have my own place, like actually have like yeah, like my own place, have my own employees, even if it's just one or two. Like I want more than just myself. I also want an assistant so that way I can get more people in. But eventually, like I do want to have like my own. I don't want to say my own, but my fiance, he's a barber, and eventually we want to do something together
That's
where
awesome.
we can have our own brand. You know, have like a girl side and a guy side, but not together. Like we don't want to like put the vibe together. We still want to separate it.
Yeah.
But have, one or two salons in Colorado that represent our name, you know? That's like long term goal. But for now, like what do I have to do to get there? You know?
Exactly.
And if it's having to, own my own salon and only have 3 stylists, and that's great. But then eventually it's like we expand.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking my baby steps.
And
but-
see, and that's amazing though, because like it all just starts with the idea,
Mhm.
and then now like working towards it, and then as like you're making that happen, you're like, dang, like I could actually make this happen, and you're like your I guess like aspirations or like your dreams start getting even bigger,
Yes.
So
Yeah, I
that's-
feel
that's
like it's
pretty awesome.
amazing what you can do with just having a plan. Or, I mean, because a lot of people are pretty good at having ideas, putting the idea to work or planning it out and having it come to fruition is a completely different thing. But a lot of people don't even have plans. Like, you can ask people about having goals, and they're just like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, where do you see yourself
Yeah.
in a year?
yeah.
And they're just like, oh, like, I haven't thought about that. And it's like, okay. But I feel like that's huge. Like,
Mhm.
you seem very goal orientated. Like, that's,
Thank you. I took a class at 10. I want to say like 3 years ago, and it was like an inspiring class, and the influencer talked about know your why and then how you can get to your why. So, for example, if my why is because I love to make people happy, that makes me feel successful. Leaving my mark on people, that's basically why I do what I do. But how am I going to do that? Am I going to open up my own space? Am I going to offer beverages? Like, what am I going to do to achieve that? And your why can change daily, but always know like how you're going to get there. And I think a lot of people don't know their why. So it's just, I don't know. I think that's important for people, to know. Like, you should know why you do something or why you want to achieve something.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, everybody goes through different struggles. And if you're struggling at that moment, and if you remember what your why is, gets you back up and motivated again to, remember it. Like, oh, here's my why.
Yeah,
Like,
this is why I'm doing it. Exactly.
that's awesome.
so let's change the subject a little bit. If we go back to you finding out that you're pregnant,
Yes.
did you know right away? Because I feel like I hear people talk about this.
Right. It's
They're like, I knew right away that I was pregnant. I know exactly when it was. Or is it kind of just like
I'm late.
Well, okay. I don't want people to think that my baby was like an accident or anything. He was just a little early, first of all. We wanted a baby, but I guess to get like technical, I got off birth control, and I was always told like, you're going to miss your period like for 3 months, like it'll be normal. Um, you know, you need to detox your body, whatever the hell they say. And so yeah, I was late, but I didn't care. I was like, oh, it's part of it. Like
Yeah.
party, you know? And then one day I was just like, I think I have COVID. Like,
Oh, geez.
yeah, I thought I had
'Cause
COVID.
you were just like feeling like sick.
Well, I was just feeling tired. Like
Okay.
just
It's like real
I
groggy.
yeah, and then like in the mornings like I would wake up like not like I mean, I always loved going to work, but I didn't like going to work this week. Like I was like, dude, I feel so sick. Like I just feel tired. I don't want to get up. I feel nauseous. Like I don't want to do anything.
Mm.
And so my mom was like, well, you should take a test. And she didn't know I got off. So I was like, dude, you're crazy. Like, you always say that. And then, yeah, I found out.
Dang.
And so when
so,
I went,
so it was with your mom that you found out with.
she was the one that told me to take the test.
Okay.
And then when I did, I left that test on the freaking table for like a week because I didn't think I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Saul was there, and I have always done like April Fool's I'm pregnant jokes. So I didn't,
Oh, my God.
so I didn't think he'd believe me, but no, he was like happy. And I was just kind of like, are you happy right now? Like, this is a big deal. And he's like, yeah, you're not happy? And I'm like, it was just a shock.
Mhm.
But I was already like 8 weeks far along when
Oh.
I found out. So normally I think it's like 4 weeks when people find out.
Okay.
So I was already pretty deep in
Yeah.
when I found out.
Man. And then, so you find out you're pregnant. What are some things that nobody talks about?
Like,
Yeah, just like as far as like pregnancies. So it's like, I mean, like, we all know that you guys get like nauseous,
Yeah.
food cravings, you know, like.
you know what? Besides the fact of me like feeling nauseous that week and being tired, like I was lucky enough to not get morning sickness or any of that crazy stuff. So that's why I never really thought I was pregnant because everyone portrayed it to be miserable, which I don't mean it that way, but if you are having a miserable pregnancy, I am so sorry. I do not mean to like say it like that, but thankfully I haven't had a miserable pregnancy.
That's awesome.
You're like,
If-
it's easy. I don't know what everybody's complaining about.
Yeah, like
Everybody else is like-
no, everyone tells me like you wait, but I'm like I'm waiting. Oh, yes, but
You're like 8 months later.
I know
Right?
I'm like still like oh, yes. But at the beginning, if anything, I was very emotional because I was also like about to start my own business, the whole
Oh,
benefits thing.
mhm.
Like I probably cried the whole first month that I was pregnant because I just thought I made a like mistake. Like when I first opened up too, I was always working late because I wanted to get everyone in. I wanted to be like the best business owner. And so I was like, I'm stressing out. Like this is probably not good for the baby. Mind you, I am in the high risk pregnancy category. I don't know if you guys know what like that means, but basically like
Mm-mm.
they check me more than like just a normal pregnancy. So I have felt great, but the experience hasn't been so great just because I have to go in more often so that they can monitor the baby.
Mhm.
They do think he's smaller than like normal, like most babies, but thankfully every visit that I go to, which I go twice a week now since I was 25 weeks, they always say, oh, he looks fine. We're just going to keep monitoring him.
Mhm.
And I don't tell a lot of people that because honestly, it's like
Yeah.
nobody really cares, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's like it's been an easy pregnancy physically, but not mentally.
Mm.
Like having to go to all those hospital visits, you know, the thought of, you know, you might be induced or the thought of, you know, you might have a premature baby.
Yeah.
It's scary. So for mothers who have been, you know, high risk during the pandemic, like it's tough. It's
Yeah.
really tough.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Would you say like mentally, like, is it like changing you to like slowly becoming like already like that like or what would you say, like the nature of a
Like,
mother? Or,
Yeah,
I don't know how you
I
call
would say so.
Okay.
I went to like a little Galentine's party, like that's a thing now, I guess.
Galentine's?
like
For all the
girl-
gals.
yeah,
Oh
on
my
Valentine's.
together.
It's a thing.
Galentine's.
I didn't know that was a thing till I got invited. But babies normally don't like me. at all. Like, and growing up, dude, like not that I don't like kids, but like kids never get along with me, so I never even tried because I was like, I get along more with dogs. Like,
You're like, oh, hi, little puppy.
like I'll talk to dogs like babies, but I won't talk to babies like they're babies.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I go to this Galentine's party, and there's a little baby, like just being,
Passed around.
passed around, and she was getting kind of fussy, and they give her back, I think, to my friend Molly. She's the aunt of this baby. And she's like, "Do you want to hold her?" And the baby was just so calm in my hands. Like,
Aw.
she kind of like rested her head. She was kind of like happy. And I was like, for the first time in my life, there was a baby that was actually excited to be in my hands.
Aw.
And I'm like, oh my God, is it like my mother instinct kicking in?
Dang.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mother instincts are kicking in. Like, now I'm more self-aware. Like, Saul always likes to climb mountains and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you can't do that. Like, you have something to live for. But I'm like, okay, I can't be that like bad of a mom. But yeah, it's like they kick in. Like, I am changing for sure though.
That's amazing. I feel like, it's crazy what a woman's body can do, creating a baby. I think that's just
Yeah, it blows my mind.
amazing, just
thinking
so
about it.
incredible.
Women are the closest thing to Mother Earth.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, it still freaks me out every time I think about it. So I don't know.
We're all just looking at Anthony.
I know, right? We're all
Yeah.
women.
Respect.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not my fault.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's
So how much of your plan did that change? I mean, was it a big effect? I mean, you said like obviously like long term that was like a part of your plan. It wasn't like, oh, well, I'm not going to do this business forever without a kid,
Well, it changed my plan in the sense of like I couldn't be there to my fullest potential. Like, now with a high risk pregnancy, my doctor recommended me not to be on my feet more than 6 hours a day, which back then I didn't know that. But back then I was like, I can't stress myself out either. Like, I can't, like, my envision before I even thought I was pregnant or before I even knew I was pregnant was I'm going to hustle. Like, I'm going to be there from 9 to 9 every day. I'm going to have like a cocktail party with my clients. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And like, now I feel like I'm so limited to certain things. And, I can't really have a cocktail party at my salon right now because of COVID rules and regulations. But
right.
like I said, it just changed my plan in the sense of like, I couldn't just give my fullest potential, I guess. But after he's born, like there are so many things that I have planned that I couldn't do when I was pregnant. So if that means I have to work 9 to 9 one day, then that's what I'm going to do so that my clients know that I'm there for them and that I'm listening to their needs. Because I do have clients that can only make it after 6 p.m. And right now what I'm doing is if a client needs to get in at 6 p.m., I'll go in, let's say at 3 p.m. I'll make it work somehow. Or I'll work more days if I need to.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
That just means you care.
Yeah, I care. I really care about my clients. And like I said, I feel like a lot of stylists just show up, do hair, and it's like, sometimes it's because it's easy, but for me, it's like I genuinely care about my clients and I genuinely want to make a change in their lives. And if that means that my client has to, make an appointment every 6 weeks just to hear me tell her that everything's going to be okay, you look beautiful, then that's what I'm going to do.
Nice.
So what you're saying is you're also a therapist?
Yeah, for free too. Well, I mean, they pay me to do their hair, but I guess I am a therapist. I've heard too much.
Say
While
less.
sipping. Oh, yes, huh?
I know.
No, that's pretty awesome. I'm sure your clients are super happy to have you to do their hair.
So.
Well, I think that's the difference between finding a career and finding a job. So I feel like a lot of people have a job. You just wake up and, you go because it's your job.
Right.
But it seems more or less you've found the secret of what it is to find a career. Because you keep saying it doesn't really feel like work. Like
Yeah.
it feels more like, well, I like it. Like it's just, I want to be there. Like I want to be better. Like I want to figure out what I can be doing to make my customers more happy. Like I need to figure out what it is, how to make myself bigger. And I need to think about these long-term goals. And like those are a lot of different things that I feel like most of the population doesn't think about. And that's the problem. Like that's really what it is. And that's what makes you get stuck in this 9 to 5 routine that it seems like you've really dialed it in, and which is amazing because you still are really young. Like, people don't figure this out. Like, they could be 40, 50, 60 years old and still have a lot of questions about life that, I mean, it seems like you've figured out a lot of these things, and it's only going to help you go that much further. So, I mean, it's really exciting. Like, I'm excited
you.
to see where you're going to be in the
Mhm.
next
You.
5, 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
Thank you. And honestly, I don't know everything, obviously, but like I said, I think just find your niche, find what makes you happy, and then the sacrifices won't even matter, you know? And whether you're 40 or 50, like, just get your ass up and like find something that makes you happy because
Mm.
ultimately that's living life. If you're working
Mhm.
a 9 to 5 and you're not happy, you're not living life.
Yeah.
Even if you're going out on the weekends and partying, if you're not happy with your job, like we work freaking 70% of our lives. I think
Mhm.
that's how much we work, but you want to find something that's going to make you happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I don't know, maybe like TV needs to promote more like careers that, you know, like people are in their that's the thing though. You don't have to be a certain age to start a business. I just think that as a society, we all just kind of need to put it out there that it's not that hard,
Mhm.
I mean, it is hard, but it's not as hard as you think it is to start a business. I think the formula is you just have to be happy. You need to be willing to make those sacrifices, and then the rest will follow.
Mhm.
I mean, I've said it before, but I mean, if you look around, like, this really is the land of opportunity. Like, if you just hunker down and just like bite the bullet and make it happen, like, there's a lot you can do here. Like, but you look around, and what's crazy is I feel like a lot of Americans, we'll call them, are in the rat race. They're the working force. And what's crazy is all of the immigrants are the ones that are running the businesses, and the working class is working for them. Like, it almost doesn't make any sense. Like, you look at some of these businesses, like, literally here in town, you can go to any of these places, liquor stores, gas stations, some of the restaurants, all that stuff. Like, most of those people are definitely from an
A different
immigrant
country
family.
or
Yeah, like,
Mhm.
it's not. So if it's possible for them to do it, then why is it any different? Like,
Yeah.
and that's
where does the message get
and that's
lost?
even like without them knowing probably any English, not
Right.
having the
Yeah.
right knowledge, so I feel like there shouldn't be any excuses to be
Exactly.
able to accomplish your dreams.
And that's the thing is, like, Americans, like, I was born into the richest country in the world, right? America's probably one of the richest countries in the world. I don't know. We don't know. But my
Like,
point
we need to
is
look it up.
that not everybody has those role models, you know? Like
Mhm.
a lot of I feel like Americans are so privileged that they think that they're just going to get things handed to them or they don't
Mhm.
have that perseverance, you
Just
know?
because there's so many examples,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like, they're everywhere. I mean, you turn on the TV, they're there. Get on your phone, they're right there.
Yes, exactly. Whereas, and I'm not trying to say like every American is like this or every immigrant is like this, but immigrants have to work for that shit. And I feel like once you've worked for that, like you just want to keep going.
Mhm.
It's like a high. Like you just
Mhm.
want to keep going. And I think that's probably why most of the businesses around here are owned by immigrant families or, Latinos, Africans, African Americans. It's like
Mhm.
they've had to work for what they have. So it's like, why not go farther?
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like, I don't know, 99% of the time, like people who start businesses fail because they don't have that courage and that ambition to keep going. Like they don't know any different.
Mhm.
Whereas immigrants, like we know what it's like to fail. We know what it's like to have to work hard for our stuff. We know what it's like to, help someone run their business. Like why can't we run our business?
Mhm.
Run our own business.
Yeah.
So, I think it has to do a lot with who your role models are and who you surround yourself with.
Mhm. Yeah. That's huge. That's really huge.
Other than your mom, who would you say is one of your biggest role models? Or is it your mom?
Yeah. She she has been like I said, she's a hardworking woman and she has, I would say, everything she wants right now, but I would say honestly my biggest role model is probably my one of my mentors from 10. Her name is Molly. Um she is somebody who's actually always believed in me. And like it's crazy because normally it's like your own family that like loves you and that wants the best for you. But her, like she's just like a badass hairstylist. She always like does whatever she wants. Like, and what I mean by that is like when she's doing hair, like people just admire her. Like I just love watching her do hair. I loved being her assistant. She actually left the salon that I was working at before I left. And I don't know, she's just a huge role model because her clients adore her, admire her. Um, she knows what she's doing. She's a shit. She is a very ambitious woman. And I feel like I'm kind of like her. Like I see me in her. Like that's who I like that's the kind of stylist I want to be. And I would say she's probably one of my biggest role models and she was my mentor.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I feel like a lot of people don't look at that the right way. Like when you say like you need to find a mentor, people are like, "Well, what do you mean I need to find a mentor?" And it's not really like that's kind of tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really just you need to find somebody that you can like ask about anything, like, and it's not always just work. Like sometimes it's life too.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I feel like a lot of people are kind of stuck on like just being stubborn and just trying to figure it out on your own, or just feeling embarrassed, like you don't want to ask for help or something like that. But like, I feel like some of the most successful people that we follow or that we look up to, it's like every single one of them has a mentor, and it's like it shouldn't be frowned upon. Like that should be something that's a little bit more talked about, but like nobody talks about these things.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys remember them ever talking about that in school?
No.
You know? And you're right. Like, I think we need a mentor for everything. Like, you don't just have to, like you said, like, even somebody for life. Like, I feel like my friend group, thankfully, like, I have, like, those different mentors. Like, I have people that I look up to. And maybe that's the issue, is people are just surrounded by people that don't inspire them. And so they're afraid to venture out of their friend group and ask
Right.
other people for help.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's unfortunate.
It is, and I think that might go back to like the small town vibes.
Yeah.
But it is weird. It's a lot different here. Like, and
Sure.
I feel like it doesn't make it any easier. But I mean, that shouldn't really be an excuse at the end of the day.
But then at the same time, like we can really take that and see what opportunities are really out there. I mean, yes, it is a small town, but then again, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's, I don't know, it's just like a great way for people to own businesses, to get out there. Because I mean, if anything, we are the future. So it's like it's always going to be a revolving door. And yeah, I mean, we always got to think about the positives too and all of the opportunities.
Amen. It doesn't matter where you are. Like
Yeah.
you said, you just have to be positive and look at, the possibilities of every situation, the positive side of every situation.
Right.
When you started talking about or started thinking about building your own business, what did your partner have to say about all that?
He actually was one of the people who encouraged me to actually take that next step. Like I said, he was reading that book around the time that I started, and he was like, "Yeah, like look, you're doing so good. Like you're on the right, you're on the right path to be successful." He, like I said, he's always encouraged me. Like he never once said like, "Are you sure?" Like he always was just like, "Do it." And then when the whole pregnancy part, I was like, "Should I do this? Like be honest with me." And he's like, "No, this is like the perfect chance for you to do it. This is the perfect time to do it. Like, it's a prime time to do it."
Yeah.
So thankfully I had a partner that was able to rub off on me in a good way. Cause imagine being like in a negative, like having like a negative partner, like they're going to rub off on you. Like I couldn't have been more successful without him because he encouraged me to do it. So yeah.
I mean, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
There's a really old saying, and it's behind every great man is a great woman. But that's like a perfect example of like, I mean, you're a great woman, but I mean, behind you is a great man. I mean, because without that extra push, I mean, who knows? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was the reason why you started all that, but like, that could have been a little bit extra of an edge,
exactly.
right? Like, you had the lady plant the seed in your mind, and then you're looking around, you're like, what am I doing? Like, I
Yes.
can do this by myself. And then you just hear it from your mom, and it's just like, yeah, like you should do this. And then you hear it from your spouse, and it's just like,
Mhm.
yeah, like you can
just
do
that
this. Like,
final
what do you?
push.
Yes, exactly. You just need like an awesome support team. Like
Mhm.
that's also part of the formula. Is just having that support team. And if you don't have that support team, find it
Mhm.
because like I said, people want to help you and those people will support you.
Yeah.
And thankfully, and I'm so blessed that I do have that support team like at arm's reach. Like I can just, call my mom. I could talk to Saul or, I can call family members that I know support me.
Mhm.
People who don't support me though, I obviously don't call them or
Yeah.
actually like kick them out of my life.
Block.
Blocked, right? Ghosted them.
Honestly, that's good advice too, though. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah.
And even it can be pretty hard. I mean,
Mhm.
I think everybody has an example of who those people are in their life, and it's not easy, especially if it's people that you grew up with, or especially if it's somebody that's family. Like.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But you have to. I mean, at the end of the day, like, those aren't people that are going to be doing things for you. Like,
Mhm.
those aren't going to be the people that are going to put you in a position to succeed.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the first people to point the finger and be like, you know what, I told you so.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard because I'm not saying you should cut off like your homies or anything,
not.
but sometimes you have to cut off family members too. Like I'm not saying like cut off your mom if she's being negative, but I think we have to also understand that like if you have negative homies and it's hard to cut them off, like just slowly like maybe like don't hang out with them as often, maybe don't
Start creating some boundaries.
Yeah, start creating boundaries.
Mhm.
Boundaries. I think you need to set those with everyone in your life, honestly, in order to, you know, be able to like speak up to those people and tell them like, "Hey, this is what I want and this is what I'm going to do and you're not going to stop me."
Mhm.
But I mean, I'm not going to lie, I did have to cut off like a lot of my homies. Unfortunately, sorry if you're watching this, I guess. But I
Yo,
did
you know who you are.
I know, I'm like, I know who you are. I guess but I mean, it was hard, but it's now that I'm doing it, I'm like so glad that I did.
Mhm.
You don't need that toxicity in your life. I'm like, wait, is that a word?
I'm not sure.
It is. It is.
Oh, okay.
Is it? It is. It is.
It is. It is.
Okay. We'll find out later.
Maybe we should just
Right.
look it up. Look it up.
No,
That's funny.
that's pretty amazing. And then I know that you were that you mentioned about the law of attraction as well too. I think that's pretty huge. I mean, that just kind of shows that you like believe in yourself as well too, and you kind of know like
You're on the path.
yeah. Where did that come from?
Oh my God. It actually came from my brother.
Oh,
And
okay.
I love my brother so much, but he's somebody who's like, I'm like, what are your goals?
Yeah.
And like, I haven't asked him recently, but growing up, when he was in high school, it was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. And I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm putting that into the universe. And if you just believe in the law of attraction, it'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was times where he, like for example, on Christmas, like I think my mom got him a hoverboard and he knew he was going to get that, but before he got it, he's like, I'm just going to put that into the universe. Like it's the law of attraction.
Oh snap.
And like everything that would happen to him, he would tell me like, it's the law of attraction. Like you just have to believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept saying that and saying that. And I was like, dude, like it is working. Like for you, it is. And so he's like educating me like, no, if you really believe in yourself and if you actually like practice what you want, like it'll happen to you. Like it'll just happen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I feel like every time I think of the law of attraction, I think of what he told me. Like just believe in yourself and it'll happen.
That's amazing.
I mean, it probably won't happen overnight, but
Right.
you obviously.
I mean, yeah, you got to put in the work, and
Yes.
then
Yeah.
it will happen as well.
Yeah, you can't just wish your life to happen. I
Yeah.
mean,
Exactly.
but it all starts with the idea. Like,
Mhm.
that's really all it is. Everybody has a dream, but that dream becomes an idea when you write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you write it down and start planning it out, it starts coming into fruition by putting in the work. And that's really all it is. And
Mhm.
what's crazy is you hear I guess I want to say celebrities, but so many celebrities talk about it,
Right.
but they all say the same thing.
Mhm.
Like, everybody talks about the same thing of like law of attraction or speaking into the universe, or you can get really religious with it and it goes the same way that way as well. But
Yeah, there's like
There's got
Jim
to be some truth
Carrey.
behind it.
Jim Carrey, he actually speaks about, the law of attraction and stuff like that, and like how he applied that to his life. And if you haven't heard about like his story, it's amazing. Like literally it will motivate you so much and you're like, "Oh my gosh."
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're going to have to look it up and check it out cuz it is pretty good. To tell you a little bit about it though, like obviously he's an actor, right?
Mhm.
But before he actually was homeless and he was living in a car,
Mhm.
in his car. He would park every single day in the mansions. I don't know, probably like Beverly Hills. I don't know, like somewhere in the mansions in
Mhm.
California. And he's like, I'm gonna be living here one day, So like every single day he would park there as if like if it was like
It
his
was
home,
home,
And he had a check that was all like crumpled up and he put down that he was gonna make a certain amount of money
Mhm.
on the check and he wrote it to himself. Years later, he ended up making, I think it was Dumb and Dumber or something.
Yeah, he put
Oh.
$10 million for acting services rendered. And then it got to the point where you couldn't even read anything on the check anymore. But he ended up getting a $10 million deal on Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
But that's just one example.
Yeah.
Right.
Drake talks about the same thing too. Like he would take his uncle's Audi or his uncle's Mercedes or BMW or something like that, and he would drive around the neighborhood that he's got a house in now.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
there's got to be some kind of truth behind it, and I don't
Mhm.
know if it's literally planting that own seed in your
Mhm.
head or just really putting the belief inside of
Yes,
you, or
belief. Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
definitely some truth behind it.
I think so too.
Whether it's small things like a hoverboard or whether it's bigger things like getting the job that you want or
Mhm.
getting the life that you want, or
Mhm.
everybody can make it happen.
Yep, you just gotta believe in yourself, like genuinely, and I don't know. You just actually have to believe in yourself and believe that it can happen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No.
Oh, look, you guys found the word.
Yeah, she
Oh,
looked it up.
snap.
Oh, does it mean what I wanted it to mean, though? I guess so.
Toxicity
The quality of being toxic.
or
Okay.
poisonous, or the quality of being very harmful or unpleasant in a pervasive and insidious way.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So get rid of all of that in order to feel positive all the time.
There we
and
go.
To your fullest potential.
That's awesome. How can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, my business cards. I think I have some. I'll give you guys some.
Yeah.
If not, I'll mail them to you guys or bring them to you guys.
Yeah.
But
Sweet.
anyways, you can find me on All Dolled Up by Crystal on Instagram or Facebook. My personal social media tag is Planet Crystal, and I'm Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. But business wise, and if you want to get your hair done, if you need a mentor, I do free mentorship classes, or not classes, but you can assist me for a day. Just hit me up on All Dolled Up by Crystal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank
Yeah. Well,
you.
Before we get out of here, do you have any really big goals or do you have any big plans for after the baby comes up?
Well, aside of work, as no, huh?
I mean, I guess. I mean, if that's really what your focus is.
Well, honestly, my biggest goal is to be able to, now that I'm gonna have a son.
and
it's
again, really quick, how many months are you right now?
8 months. Yeah.
8 months.
My biggest goal is to have a steady income, a reasonable schedule that can allow me to work around my son's schedule. But the steady income, the reason why I say that is because I want to be able to still travel and do the things that I was doing before I had my son. And I just want to live the life that I've always envisioned. Like, even when I was working at 10, I always envisioned having this not, I don't want to say 9 to 5 job, but I always just wanted control of my life.
Mm,
And I guess my biggest goal is to just have control of my life.
yeah.
And right now, I guess I do, But if I wanted to travel right now, I really can't travel because I'm pregnant and because of the pandemic and so on and so forth. But I guess that's my biggest goal is to just have control.
Where
Yeah.
would you travel?
Well, right now, I have never been to Europe, so I want to go. Honestly, I'm happy with going anywhere in Europe, preferably like Italy. I'm a food lover, so I just want to go check out Italy.
Mhm.
We were supposed to get married this June, but obviously we had to postpone, and we did want to have a destination wedding.
That's awesome.
So that's something else that I want to achieve
Mhm.
before, you know, we get going with our life. Like I do
Mhm.
still want to have all of that. So that's like another goal.
Yeah.
It's just getting that out of the way, and then just getting my life started
Yeah.
with full control.
For sure.
No, I
right?
think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Everybody wants control
Yes.
of
Mhm.
their life, and
And
I
everybody
think,
should be able to hold that, You should be able to have control of your own life.
Yeah, I agree. Just know your why and how.